Hey everybody, Steve Barrett here. We have a special announcement before you hear the latest episode of Barrett and Baxa. We recorded this episode on May 17th, 2025. That's one day before an announcement about Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis was made public. We certainly wish the president the best, and our prayers are with him and everyone else battling life-threatening diseases. But in the episode that you're about to hear, we discuss ongoing controversy and cover up of the former president's mental and physical condition during his presidency, his staff's reaction to it, the media's reaction to it, and the Democrat Party's reaction to it. I speak for Bob Baxa right now, as well as we say that we do not believe the former president's health should stymie serious discussion about what much of the nation considers one of the biggest, if not the biggest, political cover-up in history. With that said, I give you episode 13 of Barrett and Baxa, Media Schmedia.
All right, welcome to the Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia podcast. This is the podcast where we make fun of the media, we make fun of politicians, we make fun of pop culture, and most importantly, we make fun of ourselves and each other. I'm Bob Baxa. That is Steve Barrett, and he's going to tell us what's coming up on today's episode.
We have a great episode. One of the things, though, that's coming up, Bob, you're going to be excited about. I think I'm going to make a new show open so that we don't have to introduce ourselves, and it'll sound like real pod. One of these days, we're going to get to the point where we are a real freaking podcast, and you're going to listen to it and say, "Wow, this is a real podcast." Holy Toledo!
Instead of two idiots that don't know what they're doing.
That's down the road, though. But let's talk about what's going on today.
All right.
We started the week, actually, Bob, thinking that Fake Tapper's book was going to be the big story of the week. We're still going to talk about that a little bit, but the big story of the week turned out like yesterday or the day before to be this audio that was released by Axios of Joe Biden talking to Robert Hur, who was investigating the documents in Joe Biden's
which is
garage.
Connected to Fake Tapper's book, and it's all part of the same
all interconnected.
Thing. I mean, it's all connected.
So that's essentially the one big thing that we're going to talk about today from a Media Schmedia perspective, because this is just, man, we are watching the downfall of the Democrat Party. There are going to be a couple of other things that we're going to throw in here because, well, one of the things we're going to throw in here is we're going to actually let you listen to what a normal 82-year-old human being sounds like. So I had a conversation with someone earlier today who is 82, same age as Biden, and you're going to actually listen to what a normal 82-year-old sounds like and how their brain functions as they talk. Please let me say,
this was a genius, brilliant idea that you had to record a normal 82-year-old man. That's the kind of stuff you will get on Media Schmedia. Is normal sounding 82-year-old men, so you can compare it to what Joe Biden sounded like in the Hur report. So,
and we're gonna do it. We're gonna end it with some pet peeves, so that's good too.
All right,
but
cool.
The thing that we wanted to start with is actually it's going to be a little bit serious. We always joke about everything, but it's going to be a little bit serious. And we're each going to talk about something because we know that the chosen few, our listeners, like to hear stories from our past, personal stories, professional stories, things like that. So I think we're going to start out with a couple of personal stories that we feel like changed the people that we are and made us into the men that we are today here listening to us on the Barrett and Baxa podcast. So we'll start with you because I always want to direct people back to that first episode. Festivus, we call it. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you absolutely have to go back and listen to that episode because it gives you a starting point for this podcast and how we came to do what we're doing right now. And so, and Bob, you like to go back and talk about that part of your past that we talk about in that first episode. And there's a lot more to it that people have not heard.
So there is. So
one of the things started with I guess you waking up one day and looking at a television station and realizing how much you had fucked your life.
Okay. So for me, it always, and I'm going to get to that in 1 second. I know what you're talking about, but it's all about the Salvation Army for me. I would not be sitting here right now doing this podcast if it wasn't for the Salvation Army. They saved my life. They took me in when I was literally homeless. I was a homeless person. They took me in. They fed me. They were like Jesus. They really were. They fed me. They clothed me. They gave me a bed. And most importantly, they got me off drugs. And so I want to start by reminding everyone what a great charity the Salvation Army is. And please, I want you to please try to donate to the Salvation Army. And the way they make their money is you donate your goods to them. They will come to your house and get them, or you can drop them off at any number of places. And then they sell those goods in their stores, and that money runs the charity. And I think it's something like 94 or 95 cents out of every dollar goes to the actual charity, which is they're right at the top. Don't take my word for it. Look them up on Charity Checker, any number of websites, and you will see Salvation Army regularly at the top. So www.satruck.org. Or just Google, how do I donate to the Salvation Army?
Because you can give them cash. I mean, you can give them cash. You do it every Christmas.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you can throw money in the kettle, but you don't have to wait for the kettle.
But go in your closet right now. If you haven't worn a piece of clothing in a year, you're never going to wear it again. Take all that clothing, put it in a garbage bag, put together 3 or 4 garbage bags of clothes. Boom, there's a donation. The couch in your living room that you hate and you want to get a new couch, but it's too much of a hassle to get the old couch out. They will come and take the couch out, and that's a donation. So please do that. And so anyway, so I showed up at the place in Orlando on Colonial Drive. And that first night, you're really kind of discombobulated. They tell you you're going to start working tomorrow. And now it's like a Monday evening. I get some dinner and they show you to your room and I go to sleep and get up in the morning and it's early. Breakfast starts at 7. I think it was like 6 a.m. So I wander downstairs to the TV room and lo and behold, Channel 9 Eyewitness News Daybreak is on TV. And this is the show I used to be on. And I'm in a men's homeless shelter. So trust me.
And you're trying to recover from
I'm trying to recover
heroin.
From drugs and everything. Yeah. And trust me when I say you have never felt a feeling of just overwhelming shame and just despair. And I was like, what have I effing done to myself? Like, how could I be here on this side? I was on that side of the TV screen. How could I possibly be on this side of the TV screen watching Greg and Vanessa? Like, I'm supposed to be 10 feet away from them, making them laugh at my little traffic, area desk in that studio. And, it really just struck me
because you're looking at friends. I mean, these well-known, aren't just co-workers. These are very good friends.
Friends of mine. And
TV is a small world, and you really establish great friends.
Totally. And speaking of friends, I want to take this moment right here to talk about a couple of people that are super important to me. They're 2 particular guys, a guy named Edwin, a guy named Brennan, very, very close friends. They're my brothers. We went through the program together. Brennan and I actually, it's because of them. They're both truck drivers. I had seen that they became truck drivers after we got done. And so that's what got me motivated to become a truck driver. I saw how well they were doing. Brandon and I don't even think I've told you this, Steve. We did a thing called team driving. I don't know if you know what this is. It's horrifying, but it's getting more and more common. This is when the truck never stops driving. You have 2 guys. There's bunk beds inside the truck. Mm-hmm. You have 2 guys. One guy is sleeping for his 12 hours while the other guy is driving. And then you stop for fuel, you switch, and the truck keeps going. And that's called team driving. So if you've never lived with another adult man in a walk-in closet, if you've never done that, you wouldn't know what team driving is like.
Oh, the smell of it.
Dude, it's hard.
I can smell it now.
Brandon and I, this guy's like my brother. I love Brandon, but we came very close to killing each other. So I don't recommend team driving, but that's them. But there is one other guy I want to mention real quick, and that's this kid named Tyler. He's now 30 years old, but when I met him, he was 22. And I was 49. I'm brand new in rehab at the Salvation Army. And I meet this 22-year-old kid who's, he's a drug addict. He's trying to get his life together. And the only there is no other possible place where a 49-year-old man is going to develop a great friendship with a 22-year-old kid other than in rehab. And we became great friends. He's my friend to this day. He's struggling. He had a relapse. He's back trying to get clean again. But one of the funny things, I bust his balls all the time. When you're friends with someone who's 30 years younger than you, you find that busting his balls is tremendous fun. More fun than busting a contemporary friend's balls. It's better when you're busting the balls of a much younger friend. I don't know.
What makes it better?
I can't talk to him without busting his balls. So one of the things, he's going to be so happy that I'm talking about him right now. But one of the things I've made clear to him is that we are not friends. I have tier 1 friends. I have tier 2 friends, and then I have tier 1 acquaintances, tier 2 acquaintances, and tier 3 acquaintances.
Wow, those are some categories.
You're a tier 1 friend. But I've told Tyler many times that he is not my friend. He's a tier 3 acquaintance. And
so that's like all the way down the line, dude. That's like
he's as
bottom of the barrel.
And I've busted his balls with this many, many times. It's very fun.
That's good. I might need to categorize people as I get older.
So I do love Tyler very much. He's a great friend. And these are the kind of, when you meet people in rehab, they truly are your brothers. And so I just love these guys so much. And I just want to really make it clear. I joke about it, but the Salvation Army saved my life. And it's weird because
it changed you like that.
Changed me
would you say that experience is the biggest thing that changed you in your life?
100%. Getting off drugs is so key. And when you're a drug addict, I managed to work. I was on TV every day as a drug addict. Like I managed my drug addiction because I would generally.
You were functional.
I would not get high during the week because I had to get, as you know, we both were on the morning show. I had to get up at 3 a.m. So you can't be out partying doing cocaine and then get up at 3 a.m. It's not possible. So I would not do drugs during the week. And then Friday night would come and I would go crazy. And I thought that because I went to work every day that I didn't have a problem.
You're
now,
fine.
Keep in mind, I'm driving an old Jeep. I couldn't afford a new car. I can barely afford to pay my bills. I'm constantly behind on my bills. I was constantly in danger of getting my power turned off. And you tell yourself that this is normal and you don't see a possible way to stop. When you're a drug addict, you just think, and I assumed that I would just die of an overdose. I didn't see any possible way to stop.
You had given up at that point?
I'd given up, totally. I just figured I would die I would just OD on heroin, which I did on more than one occasion.
What made you want to go to the Salvation Army then? And
I was facing actual homelessness. Like a lot of people say, well, I was almost homeless, but really, they could sleep on their parents' couch or they could stay at a friend's house or whatever. But I truly had I had completely effed you over. It's stolen money. I had nowhere else to turn. My parents were long done with me. My sister had helped me here and there, but she's married with children in New Jersey. Like, what can she? She's not going to let me go live with her.
Yeah, you're not going to bring a drug addict into the house with your children as you're trying to raise them.
That's
never a good idea.
He's not letting a drug addicted brother-in-law come live at his house. That's not happening. So, they did help me. Don't get me wrong. My sister helped me, but there's not much she could really do. And I had used up all options, and I was truly looking at sleeping outdoors. And I'm telling you, I've told this before. It was an absolute miracle that I was buying heroin. And I generally never, there would sometimes be other people there. I avoided them. I'm not here to be friends with you, dude. I'm here to get my shit and get the fuck out. So for some reason, this one time I started talking to this other guy. I don't even know the guy. We're both buying heroin from the same dealer. And it has to be God. It has to be. There's just no other possible explanation in my mind. And I say to the guy, man, for some reason, I opened up to him. I don't know why. I was like, man, I'm facing homelessness. I don't even know where the fuck I'm going to sleep tonight. And of course, to show what an idiot you are. I'm facing homelessness, but of course I have money right now to buy heroin. So like that, I'm not putting it towards my
Right.
security deposit. I'm using it to buy a little bit of heroin. So, and he
So
was
you
like,
felt like
well,
you were at rock bottom at that point.
total rock bottom. And he said,
Yeah.
well, the Salvation Army has this place on Colonial Drive and you can live there and they actually give you a job. And I was like, I was like, what? They give you a job? And he's like, yeah, the only catch is you really should be like at least semi-serious about wanting to get off drugs. And I was like, I want to get off drugs. What are you talking about? And so he gave me a guy, Jimmy Mack. I'm still friends with him to this day. He was the intake coordinator. I mean, I remember all of this like it was yesterday. And this was a Friday. I called up Jimmy and he said, yes, we have a bed. You can come in Monday. He said, don't do drugs this weekend. And I had.
Were you able to do that?
Well, here's the thing. I had this friend of a friend, kind of through the grapevine. She knew about the Salvation Army and she found out that she knew Jimmy Mack. She knew I was going in Monday. So under those conditions, she was like, it's Friday, come to my house. I know you're leaving Monday. I know where you're going. It's not like you're coming to live with me, but I'm going to let you sleep in my guest bedroom, which was great. And I slept there Friday night, Saturday. Excuse me. I drank alcohol because I needed something. But luckily, I did not get heroin, and I had the opportunity to do so, but I didn't. And I showed up Monday morning, and that was February 8th, 2016. I'll never forget that day. And
changed everything for you.
Changed everything, man. And because of that, I'm here today. I mean, it's a direct line, absolutely direct line. And another thing is that by getting involved with the Salvation Army, that got Tom Morris involved in the Salvation Army, which Tom Morris is a very, very well-known man in Orlando. He was like essentially my father-in-law. I was with his daughter for many years.
Well, he was Arnold Palmer's best friend. He and Arnie were best buddies.
Here's what it was. Tom was an executive vice president with Sears, and Arnold Palmer, one of the first celebrity endorsers was Arnold Palmer working for Sears. And so Tom was like his liaison with the company. And whenever you would meet Arnold Palmer somewhere, which I did at Bay Hill, Arnold Palmer would introduce Tom. This guy was my boss for 15 years. You know, they would like laugh, ha ha, you don't have a boss, Arnold. But Arnold Palmer called Tom his boss. And the reason I bring Tom up is just the other day, like a couple of days ago, Tom was just named the Salvation Army Humanitarian of the Year.
Wow.
For Orlando.
But he only got involved because of you.
Because I was there. Yeah. He only got involved with the Salvation Army because I went in. So like, just because that drug addict said to me, hey, the Salvation Army might take you in, because of that, like now Tom Morris is the Humanitarian of the Year. He has given unimaginable amounts of money and he raises money. He gets
good for
his
Tom.
Friends. Yeah, he's
a nice guy.
Oh my God. He's like my dad. I love him. Him and Bob Jordan are the two men in my, other than my actual father, the two men in my life I love the most are Bob Jordan and Tom Morris. But Tom had his whole life. He used to be a rich guy who plays golf on the weekends. That's what he was, a normal, retired, wealthy man who plays a lot of golf. And now he's out at, he's on OBT, like giving clothing to homeless people. He's like helping bums and drug addicts and the lowest of the low that are really down and out. Tom's down there physically picking them up and helping them. It has changed him into so not only am I changed, but other people got changed because I got changed. So there you go. That's my Salvation Army. Please donate to the Salvation Army.
Yeah, that was a long pitch for donations right there, Bob.
I'm good. I'm like a good pitch.
No, but it's good. Hey, I don't have any problem. In fact, I think I was the one that said, hey, if we're going to talk about the Salvation Army, let's get our listeners to take that on as a charity cause and give some money and give their things to the Salvation Army. So that's absolutely wonderful.
Steve is going to tell. Steve has a story as crazy as my story is. Steve's might be crazier, like totally different, but no less of a life-changing experience happened to you. So when you were a kid.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about things that like shaped our lives and directed our lives. And mine comes from when I was 10 years old. I was just a kid living in central Illinois. And it was 1978, middle of February. super cold night, snow on the ground, like a lot of snow. Illinois doesn't get much snow, but back then it
Yeah.
did. And so piles of snow out in the yard, and I was asleep one night. My grandfather was babysitting us for the evening just shortly because my dad was at a church meeting. He was on a board at the church, and they were having a meeting that night. So my grandfather, who lived just kind of around the corner near us out in the country, was staying overnight, sleeping on the, not staying overnight, but staying until dad came home. And he
Right.
was sleeping on the couch. I woke up, our house was two separate houses. It was an old farmhouse, 2-story, well, 3-story farmhouse. And then connected to that was a 1-story extension to the house. And the extension had electric heat, and the
Okay.
old farmhouse part had gas heat, liquid
Right.
propane gas, a big liquid propane tank out in the backyard. Well, I woke up and I was freezing cold. And I knew, because it had happened before, what may have happened was the pilot light on the furnace may have gone out because the furnace was dug in. You'd go in the basement and it was kind of dug out in the crawl space of the house. And we just had a big piece of wood against this doorway that was cut off and or
Okay.
cut out, and it would lead to the furnace. So I went and woke my grandpa up and said, "Grandpa, it's cold, and I think the furnace has gone out. The pilot light has gone out." And he was pretty sure that that was the case. So I walked downstairs, and my brother joined me, and we walked downstairs into this basement. And my brother took that big piece of plywood off the entryway to get into the furnace room, and my grandfather went in and snaked his way around the back of the furnace.
Right.
I didn't. I don't know if I smelled anything. And I don't know if I would have known what I was smelling had I smelled anything. But as soon as my brother took that big piece of plywood off of that doorway entrance,
Right.
gas that had filled the underside of the house, this crawl space of the house, LP gas, which was not liquid anymore, it was now gaseous,
Yeah.
came out, and there was a water heater right
Right.
around the corner to that. So as soon as that gas got to that pilot light on that water heater,
Holy shit.
the whole place blew. I mean,
Wow.
boom. And I found myself, I was sitting on a dryer in the basement, a clothes dryer, and I found myself just in a room of flames. The whole room is on fire. And I kind of got blown back, and my brother got blown against the wall. And my grandfather was in that crawl space area.
Right.
And we ran upstairs. All I could think to do was run for my life.
Right.
And so I ran upstairs, and I knew as we went up the stairs there was a back door. But I knew because we'd lived there that every winter that door would swell up and it would be very, very hard to open. So I knew not
Right.
to go through that door. So ran around, I ran out the front of the house and into the front yard. And my brother followed me. And just about the
Now you're
time,
a 10-year-old kid, like in your
yeah,
jammies, basically,
yeah.
like
Oh, I'm in
trying
my
to
pajamas. Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
And you just got you were just exploded with a
the
gigantic gas explosion.
yeah, and as we ran through the house, the roof was falling down on us. So the house was kind of crumbling around us as we
Wow.
because it had blown
I
a
didn't know that
wall.
part.
It blew
Right.
the whole wall off of the house, and the wall was laying in the yard,
Wow.
actually. And so about the time we're standing in the front yard, about the time we started thinking, well, what happened to Grandpa? Where's
Right.
Grandpa? The door, that door that would swell shut and was incredibly hard to open, finally swung open, and my grandfather came running out of the house. But he was completely engulfed in flames. So
Wow.
his clothes are on fire, and he is completely in flames as he runs out of the house.
God.
And he collapses onto the front yard of the house. And my brother and I started just burying him in snow. So we just
Right.
took snow and just covered him in snow to put the fire out because he was on fire. And he stood up, and I remember that his whole body, I mean, it looked like his whole body had just been rug burned. I mean,
Right.
it was just red and like seeping and oozing. And he got up and he stumbled back into the house. And I remember him saying to my other brother, Matt, who had been upstairs at the time. My brother Matt wasn't in the basement. My brother Lee was in the basement with me. And I remember him saying, call. We didn't have 911 back then. So he said, call the fire
Really?
department. And so we had to call the fire department. And we're way out in the country. So a
Right.
fire truck's like a long ways away. Oddly enough, the house didn't keep burning. It basically burned up all the gas. And then there were
Right.
just like some curtains burning. But we wrapped him in a sleeping
Was he
bag.
conscious and like talking to you?
Yeah, he was
Wow.
conscious. His clothes were just kind of in tatters,
Right.
hanging
Right.
off of him and all burned up and charred. And I remember his skin was kind of flaking off of him and burning him. And I ran out the front door and I ran to the neighbor's house and started pounding on the neighbor's door so hard that I broke the glass window in their door.
Wow.
And
Right.
I walked and they asked what happened. And I said, there's a fire. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know.
Right. They must have heard the explosion, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, they absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
People all around the neighborhood, everyone heard the explosion. And I walked in I remember walking into their bathroom
Right.
and my face was just beet red and burned. My hair was in clumps on my head, all
Wow.
burned up. And I
Don't you still
smelled
have
like-
scars on your hands right
Yeah.
now? Yeah, I thought you did.
Yeah, that hand right there still.
Yeah, you
is
have burn
scarred.
scars. So
Yeah.
permanently burned from this.
Yeah. And so we went back over to the house. I went back over there with the neighbor. We went to the house, and my grandfather was sitting in a chair, wrapped in that blanket or a sleeping bag. And he at that point he was not as conscious as he was when I left the house the first time.
Right.
And
Right.
so we all loaded up. They finally got an ambulance there to us after quite a while, and we loaded up and took the ambulance into the hospital, which was probably a 20-minute ambulance ride. I had taken a bucket of ice, filled it with water, and I was dipping my face and my hands
No
in the
way.
water because I was burned. Basically, every part of me that was exposed had been
Got
burned
burned.
in the fire.
Right. Right.
And so sadly, my grandfather died
Right.
from his injuries. He was burned like 80% of his body, and then all kinds of medical problems start cropping up. He went to a burn center in Springfield, Illinois, and he died probably, I would say, about a week later. So he
Right.
passed away from the fire. And we came to find out that the problem was there was a faulty valve made by Honeywell that was supposed to detect when the pilot light went out
Right.
and turn off the entire heating system. And that didn't happen. So when the pilot light went out, the temperature in the house dropped, the thermostat dropped. And so the furnace started just pumping gas into the
Right.
crawl space of the house. And so that
Right.
whole crawl space filled up. And when the gas got to the water heater, boom, the whole place went up. So
And it could be, I mean, in someone else's house, someone could have lit a cigarette. It could have been anything. And
Yeah.
back then, everybody smoked. And if you don't know that the house is filled with gas, you could do anything that might cause it. The compressor on the refrigerator could have a tiny spark. Any tiny spark would set that off.
sure.
And so tell about the whole thing with Honeywell, how crazy this part of the story is.
Yeah, well,
I actually know this part.
as we come to find out, Honeywell Corporation knew about these bad valves, and they should have recalled the furnaces. But
Right.
it was one of those things, kind of like the Ford Pinto, when the gas tanks
Right.
would explode on the Pintos. The thinking was, well, it'll cost us more to recall all of those vehicles. The same thing with Honeywell. It would have cost them more to recall all of those furnaces and
To go to
replace
every
them.
house,
Right.
take out the I mean, it would have been
Yeah.
millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. And
So-
so they decided that it was better to pay the lawsuits.
Let some people die
Let some
Let
people
them
die,
sue.
let them be
Let them
injured
sue.
and die. Yep. Let them sue and
and
we'll
pay the lawsuits.
We'll pay the lawsuits.
Think about that, man.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that happens. I mean, anyone who's seen the movie Fight Club, one of the main plot lines in Fight Club, the guy works for a car company, and they look at the cost of the recall compared to the cost of the average settlement.
Yep.
And if it's less, they don't do
They don't
do the
do it.
recall, and they just
Yep.
let people die. It really is crazy. And
But-
that, everyone says a lawsuit is frivolous until it's a kid getting literally blown up in his own
and
basement.
then watching his grandfather burn to death.
Watching his grandfather burn to death. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 10. And that, oddly enough, that was the very first time I was ever on the news, mentioned on the news, because the news covered that. I don't know if they said my name, probably not, but they did say, you know, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 64-year-old man were injured.
64. He's a young man.
Yeah, no,
there was a time when I thought that was old. Now I think 60, but 4 years away. No. I think of that as young. It makes me sad Bob, that you have night, that memory in your brain.
And that night changed my, like, How could it not? I grew up very quickly, and one of the things that, and I think it led me to be a television reporter later, because I always liked to do the dangerous things as the television reporter. I would go into the worst neighborhoods. I would go into the worst storms. I would put myself in dangerous situations, because I think it kind of burned away my fear. After that, nothing scarier could really happen. But to this day, Bob, do you know, to this day, in my mid 50s now, I still have dreams of moving back into that house, and I'm scared in the dreams, and I have to move back into the house, and the curtains are still all burned up and charred, and there's still soot all over the windows. They rebuilt that house, and a family lives in it to this day. They went out, put that wall back on the house, and raised the roof back up, and cobbled it back together, and the house still stands there to this day.
I think of you as a small child, and if your kid says to you, "Mom, is there a monster under the bed that might kill me?" And it's like, no, but the entire house might explode and you might be burned, your grandfather might be burned alive. That does actually happen. So no monster, but yes, explosion. I feel so bad for you as a kid to have to deal with that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And oddly enough, the firefighters told us that had I not woken up and everybody just kept sleeping, more and more gas would have filled up, and that give it another hour or 2 hours of leaking gas, and the whole place would have been blown apart and no survivors at all. So there's an odd silver lining in that I happened to wake up and I was cold enough that I went downstairs to get my grandpa to help us. So yeah, because his part of the house, he was on a couch in the warm part of the house where we had electric heat, so he would have never noticed.
Right.
So anyway, so there. Let's get into the show. We'll clank it there. All right, let's get to talking about Joe Biden and this audio that dropped.
This is the biggest political. Can I just say, this is the biggest political scandal in history. Nothing else comes close. This is way bigger than Watergate. This is bigger than, it's 1,000 times bigger than January 6th. We had a fully senile president. No one knows who was making decisions. And we knew this. They said we were conspiracy theorists, and it is now absolutely proven that this freaking guy was fully senile.
Yeah,
they say huge scandal.
And the big line is that, from the media, the liberal left-leaning media says, well, the White House lied to us.
Right.
Not only did the White House lie to you, but the Democrat Party lied to you.
Right.
Told the biggest lie ever.
How did we know? We knew at home in our house because we have eyes. We watched this guy. He couldn't sit on a bicycle without falling off. He fell upstairs. He couldn't find his way up. Who falls upstairs? I was walking up the stairs and I fell up the stairs. Not once, not twice, 3 times. He couldn't find his way off of a stage. We've talked about this one before. How it's either that way or jump down. It's not that complicated. This guy couldn't find his way.
And this audio that Axios released, this is audio that Merrick Garland, he listened to it to make the decision that he was not going to release the audio. So, the whole Department of Justice worked against releasing this to the American public. And because of Axios, I don't know how they got the video. I'm sure we're going to find out, or the audio.
This is all part of the cover-up, man.
It's a huge cover-up. And any journalist out there saying, what was it, Whoopi Goldberg? She's not a journalist, I get it. But saying, we shouldn't be using the word cover-up. No, I think Jen Psaki said the same thing. Don't use the word cover up. This is
It
not
is
a
a
cover up.
cover-up.
Bullshit.
They
This is a
purposely kept
cover
it.
up. And
Yes.
this is the thing that I'm sorry, liberals, you need to find a new party because the Democrat Party is corrupt and they lie. They will lie about anything. They can't be trusted anymore for anything.
I know.
I don't care what you call your party, call it whatever. Call it the Liberal Party, call it the Green Party. I don't care what you call it.
Party.
But the Democrat Party needs to be dead and they need to put a nail in it. And all of the people running the Democrat Party need to just be wiped off our political map.
They are evil. I mean, this party is evil, man. They really are. And if they'll do this, what won't they do? If they will just, and I want to know who is, I mean, we're going to get into it, but who was making the decisions? It wasn't Joe Biden. So was it Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, who's not a doctor in any possible way? I mean, was it, what's his face? Anthony,
Blinken?
Yeah, Blinken.
He was
Anthony. There's no
Anthony.
H in Anthony.
Yeah, he's Secretary of State. But I'm sure that Merrick Garland, who was Attorney General, brought in somebody else in the cabinet, and at that point, the cabinet should have 25th Amendment. That's why it's there. Use it. Should have been done.
If it wouldn't be used on this, what would it be used for?
Because
seriously,
and we're going to play the audio. This interview was like, I think 6 or 7 months before the debate.
Right.
That's finally sunk his candidacy. So it's just crazy. The clip that I chose, though, has fake Jake Tapper having to explain. That's why I went to CNN to say, what did CNN report about it? Because in the beginning, after in the first 12 hours or so of this, I went and checked CNN and MSNBC's websites. They had nothing about it.
I know you said nothing on MSNBC. So they're still doing it to right now. Today, as we record this, they are still trying to hide this from us.
Maybe I'll look in a minute at MSNBC's website to see if they have anything at all on it. But I mean, they were still trying to act like, we don't know anything about this audio. We can't confirm. This could be a cheap fake.
Like who is that chick? Leslie Stahl when she was interviewing Trump, and she's like, we can't confirm that the laptop. Like, how would you confirm? It's got pictures of him with horse. It's confirmed. It's his laptop. I mean, I think it's confirmed.
Yeah.
So they like to use that. Can't confirm.
All right, let's do our first clip of the show here, and this is going to be a clip of Jake Tapper, and he's going to play for the CNN audience this audio that should have been released 2 years ago.
That while he believed Biden mishandled classified documents, he did not think a jury would convict him because the president came across as, quote, a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, a quote that caused the White House to explode with fury.
Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right.
January.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. This is what 2017, 18, that area.
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying.
Not true.
His son died in 2015.
And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period.
So all through that clip, you can see he's just desperately trying to hold on to his attention span and he can't figure out. So he's just going off on this tangent that, well, isn't that when, so about this time is when my son was, and then wasn't I, Trump
his
was
son
running.
died in 2015. And he's
Right.
talking about 2018. Here's what if this was your elderly father and you had this exact conversation, like you and your brother went over there and visited, and this is exactly how he talked. When you left, you'd be like, oh, Dad wasn't so bad today. He was able to hold the conversation. He was clearly not remembering things, but okay, it wasn't that bad of a visit. That's if your father's a retiree in a home somewhere. This is the president of the United States who has the nuclear codes. He doesn't know what planet he's on, and we were being led by this guy. I mean, it's
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
What if something had happened in the middle of the night?
Yeah, and so one of the things I wanted to do today is a lot of people out there probably don't have an 80-something-year-old that they interact with on a regular basis. So they might be like, well, isn't that like, couldn't that
is that a normal 80-year-old?
That a normal 80-year-old?
Right.
I can tell you that it is not.
Okay.
Because I called my father today and talked to him about this very issue. And he didn't sound like that at all. In fact, he understood everything that has happened, and he was thinking all the way back to the Watergate days about things. Okay. So I want to play a clip from my conversation with my 82-year-old father.
All right, let's hear it.
Here we go. Dad, do you buy it at all that no one in the White House really knew?
Oh, absolutely. I do not. They absolutely knew. Anybody that was associated with him had to have known.
I mean, he can't keep track of anything that he's saying at this point.
No. And the worst one is his wife. Why would somebody who loved the man do this to him? Expose him to the press and the public and keep doing it until this day. I mean,
and when it's so obvious.
They were on The View last week, and he couldn't even answer simple questions on The View without her stepping in and having to save him. It's just, she's the worst one of the whole bunch. She's the one that knew first.
Absolutely.
And had to have seen it first.
And she probably saw it back before he was elected. Back in 2020, she knew.
Probably. She saw signs and knew that it was going on. And COVID made it possible,
So you think as a guy that, I mean, you're Joe Biden's age.
I am. I think he's just a couple of months older than me. And it's not an age thing. It's a mental decline. Trump's almost his age. I'm Biden's age, and heaven forbid I don't get that. But
you don't forget who people are. You don't wander off aimlessly.
Well, I haven't yet. It just adds more.
That is so good. He brings up Jill Biden. That you can't get away. That's the thing. I keep coming back. Jill Biden is evil. She is the one. Everyone else, you could say, well, they're doing it for a career or for the power, but Jill Biden is supposed to be married to this guy.
She's supposed to take care of him and protect him.
And she's just absolutely
she's throwing him to the wolves.
Effing him. Yeah. She is one of the most evil women that has ever lived. I say that unequivocally. Jill Biden is evil. She is.
And that's an example. I mean, my dad, I think he sounds like
great.
He sounds
like an older guy.
He sounds like an older guy, but he's got all of his marbles. He can remember.
Absolutely. He makes
yesterday.
Jokes.
He can. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
he's not fumbling and stumbling over himself like Joe Biden does.
If Joe Biden sounded like your dad, I would be fine with an 82-year-old president. It's not the age, because Trump is only a couple of years younger. But you see, that's something that I find interesting. Remember during the campaign, one of the narratives was that it was actually Trump who was senile.
I know.
And Trump was going senile. You never hear anything about that anymore. So
he runs circles around everyone.
Media, where's the senile Trump? It doesn't get better, so it would only be getting worse. I haven't heard a single media person accuse Trump of being senile.
And now Joe Biden's staffers, they're doing it anonymously, but they're saying, we wish we worked for an administration that could move this quickly. Like,
right. I know.
because they were all just like twiddling their thumbs, sitting in their office, like nothing's happening. We're not doing anything. You know, the president's out of commission today. I mean, how many
Yeah.
days
Many.
would there have been that he was completely out of commission? Because we wouldn't hear from him for
Right.
days and weeks at a time, it seemed.
I know. And I mean, I want criminal charges. I want Senate hearings. I
Yes.
want criminal charges.
I
There
want the
have been
Democrat Party to go
crimes
down
convicted.
over this.
Yeah. There have been crimes committed. We cannot stress highly enough how serious this is. This is the biggest scandal in the history of the United States. They hid a senile president from the American people. And this calls into question every single decision he made. He signed pardons. Those pardons, as far as I'm concerned, every pardon is null and void. Every single one has to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. We have to figure out exactly when did Joe Biden know these things?
Yeah.
What did he know? And was he the one, if he signed something into law, that law gets thrown out as far as I'm concerned, because who knows if Joe Biden even knew because tell me now, they didn't put a paper in front of him and say, Joe, sign this.
You know that he did.
Happened.
He just went,
happened.
he went, oh, I guess I'm
okay,
supposed to
sign. Or they just used the fucking auto pen. I mean, they didn't even do that. So,
I mean, if he stands there and asks what reporter he's supposed to call on, or tells you, I'm not supposed to take questions.
I'll get in trouble.
Trump would ever say, I'm not supposed to take questions? Trump will take questions anytime he fucking wants to. Anytime.
Right. And just the fact that Biden always said, I'm going to get in trouble if I keep taking questions. That shows that before he went out there, someone gave him a stern talking to. Do not take further questions. You go here, you go there. They were treating him like a senile old man, like a child. Yeah. And every single press conference, that idiot said, I'm going to get in trouble. And it was like, we even joked back then, people would joke, can we talk, whoever you're going to get in trouble with, could we talk to them? Because clearly they're in charge, because it's obviously not you. This is just the biggest scandal. I keep saying it. I'm repeating myself, but it is gigantic scandal.
And it's going to
answers.
put the nail in the coffin of the liberal media, because the next soundbite or the next clip that we're going to play is going to make it clear that these reporters pretend like, oh, well, the White House was covering it up. It wasn't just the White House. It was the Democrat Party was covering it up. And the media was complicit in the cover up, because I'm sorry, I was a reporter for a long time. If somebody walks in, if the president walks in and he's limping, I'm going to say, well, what happened? Why are you limping?
Is your foot hurt? Yeah. I mean,
so they're not going to ask, like, why can't he keep track of things? Why is he falling down? Why is he losing track of every sentence?
Why is he asking for dead congresswomen? Why did he ask for a dead congresswoman? And the explanation was, well, he had her top of mind. And then at that point, you say, no.
Oh, I remember that bullshit.
He asked,
top of mind.
Where is the congresswoman? She's dead. How is it possible that, I don't care if he had her on his mind, he specifically said, is Jackie here? The woman is dead. Why did the president ask if a dead woman was at the You keep hammering the press secretary, but these absolute pussy reporters that we have in the White House press pool would just say one question and back right off. And so it's despicable.
Right now, my mother-in-law actually is in memory care. And when we talk to her, she thinks that her mom is still alive. She thinks that her dad is still alive, her sister is still alive, all people that are long since dead, and she doesn't know that they're dead. Like, that's what happens. You forget that people have died. You forget people's names. It happens all the time with dementia. So just like a limp, if you're going to ask about a limp, you have to ask about dementia, because those are the signs of dementia. Hello.
Yeah. And you know who's going, and I'll do a little we would love to be guests someday on the Megyn Kelly show. Megyn Kelly will have Fake Tapper on her show on Tuesday. When we are taping this on a Saturday, it generally gets posted on Tuesday. So it might be Tuesday as you're watching this. Look for Megyn Kelly to be interviewing Fake Tapper. and the other dude, whatever his name is. And I think we can count on Megyn Kelly to be very, very tough and to point out, Jake, why did you criticize Laura Trump when she was clearly right? And all the other questions, I hope she destroys Tapper because he deserves it. He's a real
he
scumbag.
shouldn't be on TV anymore.
No, he's a scumbag.
He and Morning
He's a
Schmo.
lying scumbag.
We're gonna hear from Morning Schmo in just a minute, but first we want to pay. We want to play. This is a montage. This is actually a montage that the Trump administration posted on Truth Social. And it's the montage of everyone claiming that he's the best Biden ever. Yeah. And this is at the same time, like many of these sound bites that you're about to hear are at the same time as Robert Hur was interviewing Joe Biden in that clip that you just heard.
Time frame. Yes.
All right. Let's listen to how many. It's just astounding how many of them. So let me share the screen.
How many of them lied to our faces through the screen?
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely
this is Mayorkas.
and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips.
Yelling.
He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge.
They're all lying.
He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently
General
with the
Milley.
president. And every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is
I
sharp.
hate him so much.
He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the
Joe.
experience he has.
I say his age is an asset.
He's wise. Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
And his experience, because of his age and his wisdom, has been invaluable to this country.
A lot of countries, people who've been in office a longer period of time are praised for their wisdom.
I have seen a lot of 72-year-olds.
This is unbelievable.
Not as capable as this 80-year-old.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
Oh, God, I can't take it anymore.
And here's the thing that pisses me off is because they accuse us of, being right-wing propaganda, but we saw it. And they're literally saying,
it was
don't
obvious.
believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying eyes. We are telling you the truth. And every single one of those people was lying because they all knew that Biden was senile. That is obvious. So, they all, I think, should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity or something, man. I hate those people. I hate Mayorkas so much, dude. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
I hate Mayorkas. He is such a scumbag.
They were all liars. One of those, part of that soundbite was Merrick Garland. He listened to the Robert Hur interview and didn't say a thing. That's bullshit, man.
Bullshit.
That's our attorney general. He didn't say anything.
He's a criminal
about that.
They all are.
One telling thing, Bob, when I was trying to find that a good montage of all of those people doing that, saying that. So I'm searching for best Biden ever montage.
Right.
when you do that, you get the opposite. It's nothing but montages of him falling down, him wandering off, him stumbling
That's
and
good.
stuttering.
Because there's so many of those out there.
Yeah, because so there is no best Biden ever. Like you can't find like any really good quotes or like, motivational like speeches that he gave.
Right.
Those don't exist.
There is no best Biden ever.
But before we move forward on this one, get away from all the people who said Joe Biden was fine, we have to play Morning Schmo, who is the other. Jake Tapper should be fired, and Morning Schmo should never have a television show again because this guy made a complete ass of himself, and that's why I want to play this clip again because
it's an oldie but a
Joe
goodie.
Scarborough is a moron.
I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
Well, F you, Morning
F
Schmo,
you, Joe.
if you can't notice it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
come on, you're supposed to be a journalist. What the hell is wrong with that guy? And why is MSNBC brass not saying something about that?
I don't know.
Why have they not called him out and said, you need to apologize or something, because that is the clip that you can just play over and over and over again to show
their
what a
flagship
jackass
show.
that guy is.
And they're horrible, and they just they're never going to get their credibility back. And I know now they're trying to be somewhat more credible, but that's gone. That house burned down to the ground, and the ashes cannot be reconstructed into a new house. So MSNBC is just a joke. I mean, they're all just absolute jokes. They've lied to us too many times, and I'm so glad that they're all getting fired. I mean, I'm happy that all of their jobs are going away. I really am.
Yeah, and they don't want to. None of the Democrats want to, or even the media want to admit what happens. In fact, the Democrats came up with this new word that apparently the memo went out that everyone is supposed to say, we're moving forward.
Oh, forward.
We're not looking back. We're moving forward.
It is really weird. We joke about, but it's impossible to think of any other possible explanation. When you see 10, 12, 15 different Democrats say the same word, it makes you think that there really is a memo. Like, do they actually put out a memo? And
I believe that they do.
I mean, who's putting out the memo? Someone told me it comes from Politico Playbook every morning, and that Politico Playbook is the one that Democrats look at, and whatever it says there, that's what they all say. But there's at least 8 or 10 of them saying the word forward this last week, that they're looking forward. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is not going to cut it. You're not going to be able to just say we're looking forward. We demand answers, and we are going to look backwards and figure out what the hell happened with this whole Biden scandal. We're not letting it go.
Yeah,
so forward is not going to work.
This is my biggest thing. This
Me
lie,
too. Love it.
this and the border are my two biggest issues that really turned me against Democrats. But let's just listen for a second at how they're now trying to spin it.
The bat signal going out for the word forward.
We're not looking backward, we're looking forward. We're just looking forward. We're looking forward. We're looking forward.
I'm interested in going forward.
That's backwards, not forward. That's very backward looking. I don't really want to review all of it because it's past history.
That's good.
So do they really think that people are just going to go, oh, okay? Well, because that's what they expect out of journalists.
Yeah.
The
Well, they do.
left-leaning journalists, they expect them
Yeah.
just to move on and say, "Oh, well, I won't ask about that."
Right.
And I bet if you
And they're
listen to
right
the interviews
about
of
some
those
of them.
clips, I bet the journalists did not double down and say, "No, not that
Yeah.
fast. We are
No.
going to talk about the past, and I don't care whether you want to move forward. We're moving back because this
Yes.
was a lie, this was a cover-up, and you guys
Yes.
need to explain yourself. I don't believe you that you didn't know. I don't believe you."
The joke I heard somewhere was if you were in court and you were in court for murder and the judge is like, "Well, what happened at the murder scene?" You're like, "Judge, that's just looking backwards. At this point, that's in the past. I want to look forward to a life outside of prison, and I don't want to look back. That was old stuff. So let's just move on and not look backwards." And that's a pretty good joke. I think that kind of sums it up. I like that one.
Good analogy there, Bob. All right, we're getting a little long in the tooth here, as they say. So maybe we should get headed toward the end of this episode, but not before we do a couple of pet peeves. And
I have some
Bob,
good ones.
I went first on the pet peeves last time, so
Okay.
why don't you give us a pet peeve?
All my pet peeves this week take place in the line at 7-Eleven, okay? I regularly go to convenience stores. I get a lot of coffee. So I'm regularly in line at it doesn't have to be 7-Eleven, but at a 7-Eleven style situation where there's a cashier and there's a line of people, all right? First of all, we have come up with a distance. As a society, we have decided there is a certain distance that you should stand from the person in front of you. There's also a certain distance you should be waiting back from the person who's at the cashier. There's a guy this week, there's someone at the cashier, and then there's like 12 feet, and there's a guy. And I'm like, are you even in this line? Like, dude, we're supposed to be 3 feet from the person in front of us. Please use the correct distance and stop being so far back. That's number one. Number two, guys who flirt with the 7-Eleven cashier when her body language is saying, "Sir, pay for your shit and get the fuck out. Leave me alone. Do not talk to me." And this poor girl is working at 7-Eleven. She's trapped. She can't leave. It's not a bar where she can walk away. She has to interact with this guy to a certain extent. And these guys who are flirting with the cashier, she's not going to go out with you. She doesn't want to talk to you. Leave her alone. Pay for your stuff. Get out of my way so I can get my coffee and go drive a truck. Thank you. Those are my pet peeves.
Bob, I noticed that your pet peeves tend to happen in stores for some reason. You get very annoyed when you go into a store. I think that's because there are a lot of people around you and you just don't like people. You get annoyed by people because the last time you were annoyed at the small talk that happens at the grocery store because that's not an approved small talk
approved venue
area.
for small talk, right?
All right, my pet peeve
what is yours?
Is something that I saw this week again, but you see it all the time. Everybody sees it on social media. People who post something and maybe it's about, cancer, or maybe it's about abandoned dogs, or something like that, a serious issue. But then they add that line that says something like 80% of people won't repost this because they don't care. Let's see who reposts this.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
What I would never repost something like. I'm not going to repost it.
I will not repost.
Right. At this point, no, I'm not. I don't care how much I care about that issue. I am not going to repost it just because you made that little douchey comment.
You're trying to shame me into reposting.
Right.
F you. I'm not reposting.
It's like when when they asked Kramer to wear the AIDS pin.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
No, I'm not wearing the AIDS pin.
Don't you care about AIDS? I'm at the walk. Well, you must wear the pin. That's
you
why
must wear the pin. That's you must repost.
The
you
ribbon.
must
it was a ribbon.
This.
You must wear the ribbon.
Yeah, the ribbon.
You must wear the AIDS ribbon.
The AIDS ribbon.
That was very good.
Yeah.
And I am with
but this is
Kramer on
the internet version of the AIDS ribbon. They're trying to shame you into reposting something that you don't want to, maybe you don't care about it, or maybe you really do. But either way, I'm not fucking reposting it if you put that bullshit up there.
No, F you. I'm with you. That's a good one.
All right. Well, we got through a pretty good episode. Yeah, we're at the end,
good.
man. Bob, it's we're getting better every day.
Please hit like and subscribe and all those other things.
Yeah, we have people. We have an update on our statistics. We have Aruba. Somebody in Aruba has downloaded us, and we got our first thumbs down.
I did hear about that. Yes.
So I was talking to somebody about the thumbs down,
Right.
and her name's Deidre. She's a bartender at the country club that I go to. So I'm talking to her, and she said, "I just listened to your podcast." And I said, "Yeah, we were really happy that we just got our first thumbs down." She said, "You probably got your first thumbs down because you said that you didn't have a thumbs down yet." And I thought, wow, maybe it's not a real thumbs down. Plus, it pisses me off because it means that we are not offending nearly enough people.
Right. We
should
more
have
thumbs
many
downs.
more thumbs down
Yes.
at this
Please
point.
give us
so
a thumbs
please, somebody get annoyed.
Because as far as I know, any interaction is good for the creator, whether it's thumbs up or down. It just means that you clicked on it. So we don't really care if you love us or hate us. Just make sure you're listening and clicking. That's the main
We
thing.
can't be perfect. You can't all love us, for frick's sake.
That would be
all right.
lame.
Well, that's the end
All
of this
right.
episode. Say goodbye, Bob.
Bye, Bob.